Sergeant, when you get a moment, and now that you're situated, if you'll tell the judge who you are and where you work.
My name is Robert Pike, R-O-B-E-R-T, P-I-K-E. I am currently a sergeant on D Squad for the Raleigh Police Department in field operations. Previous to that, I worked in the Technical Assistance Response Unit's Digital Forensics Lab. I worked there for approximately 6 years. From there, previously I was on an intelligence unit where my primary job was to do digital forensics and electronic evidence gathering for that unit, who primarily dealt with human trafficking, counterterrorism, things of that nature. Before that, I was a detective on the Raleigh Intelligence Center, which is now the Real-Time Crime Center for the Raleigh Police Department. Previous to that, I was a patrol officer in Southeast Raleigh. I've been a detective for 23 years.
Sergeant, a good chunk of your time you spent and still do spend as a forensic examiner, is that fair?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your training and experience in forensic examinations?
Sure. So I have been doing digital forensics in some form since 2002. I started off with interning with the North Carolina North Carolina Bureau of Investigation, the SBI. During that time, I was an intern in their financial crimes unit that was beginning to get into the field of digital forensics. I then went into the police department with the intent of working in the cyber crimes unit, which was a unit inside of the Raleigh Police Department. I enjoyed working on digital evidence and doing those things that brought evidence to investigations. And I continued my education through that. I eventually became certified from a company called Cellbrite. Cellbrite is a company that originally was made to obtain information from a phone. When you would go to, say, Verizon or AT&T and you would get a new phone, the phone would have contacts in it, and back in the day it was very difficult to take those contacts and transfer them over to another phone. So Cellbrite came up with the capability of transferring that information over. They also saw that there was a need in the government field for doing mobile forensics. In 2007, we had the advent of the iPhone. When the iPhone came out, everybody started using it through the years, and it became a very popular item for people to have in their lives. So there was a need for forensic analysis with that. So I became certified in conducting extractions through Cellbrite. Since then, I've also obtained other certifications. I am certified through the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists, also known as IASIS. IASIS is a group of nonprofit digital forensic examiners. Most of them are government digital forensic examiners, and they do digital forensics throughout the country. And so I am certified through them. I am a computer forensic analyst through that, or a CFCE. And I also have their mobile forensics certification, as well as their Windows forensics as well. So I also have a master's degree from the School of Engineering and Computer Science in University of Central Florida for digital forensics.
Do you teach this sort of stuff as well?
I do. I teach around the world. I've been lucky enough to teach down in Germany to London to federal agencies across the country. I've taught at the DEA. I've taught at the Secret Service facility down in Hoover, Alabama, the National Computer Forensics Institute that's run by the Secret Service. I teach down there, so I've been blessed to do that.
And have you also had the occasion to testify and be tendered as an expert in the topic of forensic examinations?
Yes, I have approximately 7 times through both state and federal.
This time, Your Honor, the state would seek to tender Sergeant Pike as an expert in forensic digital examination.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
His testimony will be received as property.
Now, Sergeant, at some point, did you become involved in the investigation from the Headingham murders and assaults that we are here having the sentencing hearing about?
Yes.
And were you provided as a part of your involvement with digital information relating to the case?
Yes.
Did you get cell phones, computers, etc., and attempt to do downloads of them?
Yes, I received over the course of days multiple items from many facets in the investigation.
2 of those items, would they have been the defendant's cell phone that was collected from him and a laptop computer that was identified as belonging to him?
Yes, one was a cell phone, an iPhone 11, and the other one was a MacBook.
And did you perform or attempt to perform extractions of either or both of those items?
I did.
And were you able to get downloads or extractions from those items?
Yes.
How many, did you get everything on the first extraction, or did you have to do multiple extractions?
So we had to do multiple extractions, and the reason for that is in the beginning we did not have his PIN code. The iPhone has built into it security parameters that keep the user data from being accessed without a PIN. Because of that, we were only able to obtain something called an after first unlock, and kind of go through the process of this and how this works. When you do an extraction of a device, there are a few ways at which you could get information. The first way is a logical extraction, and this extraction is very basic. This is when a person has given you their PIN code and it is using essentially an application program interface to communicate with the phone. Now, that just simply means that it's analogous to like rules of the road, right? The rules say you have to abide by these parameters and you will get information from the phone. And so we use that as a quick way to get information, but this obviously requires a person's consent and as well as their PIN code. So the second way to get information, or the second data set that we get, is a file system extraction. And this type of extraction gives us information from a phone that you would often see if you were to look on the C drive of your computer. These are files and folders. Some of them have no real user value. They are just either settings or associated with programs. And so you will have that information as well from a file system extraction. The next one, which is due to some security features in a phone, is called a full file system extraction. And this is when you are able to obtain everything that is in the phone. If you were able to make an image of, say, your C drive in your computer, it's the same as doing that with the phone. Most modern computers and most modern phones nowadays have a encryption scheme called a file-based encryption, which protects each individual file. So it makes it very difficult for us to get deleted information from what we call unallocated space, and without getting too deep into that process. And so particularly with Austin's phone, we had the ability to get what's called an after first unlock. And so the way that that works is there's a door that protects the user's data on the phone. That door stays open after you put in your PIN code. There now is a time limit, but back then we didn't have that time limit, to where that door closes. But if we were attempting to get all of the data, we would need to have his PIN to open up extra areas that are protected. That door was still open when we got Austin's phone, so we were able to get about 70 to 80% of the actual data that was in the phone. There are some areas that are very well protected that require the PIN code of the phone to open up all of that information. And it's using specific keys in order to do that so that it can protect that information. But for Austin's phone, we had just gotten what we call an after first unlock. And so we really wanted to be able to get every bit of information out of his phone. So what we did is we contacted Cellbrite, the company who is the provider of the tool that we use to gain access to his phone. And they advised that they had a method, which we call an exploit, to get information out of his phone and potentially get us the PIN code. His phone was sent to them, and they were able to give us the PIN code to his phone. Prior to that, they actually sent an engineer from their company to our police department to help us, and they were unable to, at that time, get us into the phone, but then eventually, when we sent it to them, they were able to get us the PIN code. It was a few months later. They gave us the PIN code, and then we were able to get that full file system extraction from the phone.
Now, all of these things that you're doing to the phone, do they in any way affect what you're getting out of the phone? Meaning, do they change the data that you're retrieving from the phone?
It doesn't change the data that we're retrieving from the phone, but mobile devices, particularly modern day mobile devices, are continuously moving data. So there's always going to be some changes, but none that are going to affect normally the user data. There are some databases that have time limits, and if we go too long, we can lose some of that information. But luckily, we were still within our window of about 30 days to get that information, particularly location information.
So ultimately, when you did these extractions of the defendant's phone, were you able to get the best extraction that you possibly could out of it?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got that, did you go about taking efforts to figure out what was actually in the phone?
Yes.
And were you given kind of a couple of parameters of things that you generally will look into?
Yeah, so some of the things that they had asked us to look into were communications, things that go into the mens rea, if you will, of the individual who did this. And we started looking into searches. Because of the sheer volume of the data, oftentimes we will have the investigators assist us. Because there's also other cases that then come up for us, and they are the subject matter expert in that event. But for this particular case, we were really trying to see if there was anybody else he was communicating with, and B, was there any information about his state of mind at the time.
And to do that, did you look at his internet searches?
I did.
And you looked at whatever communication he may have had?
Yes.
And did you look at his the location data that you were able to get from the phone?
Yes.
When you got into the phone and were looking at the internet searches, were you able to gain access to those?
Yes, I was able to gain access to them.
The information that you were able to get from those internet searches, did it include in an easy to access way times, dates, etc. for when searches may have occurred on that phone?
No, mainly because there was very limited information in the histories database. So the iPhone, as its default browser, for those who don't know, a browser is something that you use to get on the internet. And Safari is the default browser for iOS. The amount of data that was in the normal database for the Safari browser was very limited to that day. There were a few searches that were in the actual history of the Safari database. So we had to go into a different database associated with Safari. That database is called a favicons database, or favicons.db. Now, to understand what these are, if you look at the tab that is created by your browser, there's usually a little icon that shows up in your browser. These are called favicons, and they're usually labeled favicons. The browser keeps track of these favicons in order to not have to download them over and over again, because they're little images. And sometimes those images don't actually conform to the requirements of the browser. So it keeps track of some of the URLs through that. And I was able to obtain some of the URLs that were visited using that database. Some of them only have timestamps associated when the database was created. Some of it is when the favicon was, if there was an error in the favicon, the rejected area inside of the database. So I had to also rely upon another method for obtaining times inside of the searches. The way that I was able to pinpoint some of the Google searches is inside of every Google search, or almost every Google search, is a what we call base 64 data. And this is just simply encoded data. It's normalized for a URL, which is what is created when you search something in Google. The URL contains that base 64 data, which contains a timestamp. That timestamp is able to be read. It's in what we call Unix time. It's number of seconds from January 1st of 1970. And we can take that number from that actual bit of information inside the URL and determine when the actual session occurred for that Google search. So for example, when you pull up Google, it will timestamp that, and that timestamp is notated in the URL after an EI equals. We know this due to research. A gentleman who worked at Google, he was a digital forensic examiner for Google Security, put out a research paper regarding this.
And so let me ask you this, that's a kind of standardized thing in the field that people know about this now and it's accepted?
Yes, it's generally accepted as a way of obtaining the date and time from a URL from Google.
And so did you go about taking all of this information that you were able to find in these EIs and in the URLs and the Google research that they had done and apply those to the searches and in Google that were done on the defendant's phone?
Yes.
In doing that, were you able to ascribe dates and times to searches that you may otherwise not have been able to readily identify?
So I was able to give information about the session. So that is the time that the Google page was opened. And through my training and experience, most people will then type into the Google search. But it's not the exact time of the search itself, but of the session of pulling up Google, if that makes sense.
But it wouldn't be before that session?
No, it wouldn't be before the session.
It would certainly be, the search would be done after whenever the Google tab was open?
Correct.
Okay. And did you generate, in this case, a detailed report of searches and search topics that were done on the defendant's phone?
Yes.
And also in that report, did you generate location data for the phone?
I obtained the location data from the caches. It was a SQLite database called cache.db.
Okay, and so the location data of the phone was found on the phone and you memorialized that in your report?
Correct.
Did you also utilize the health and fitness features to figure out distances traveled for the device at certain periods of time?
I did.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I've marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 22. Will you take a moment and look at that?
Okay.
Is that the report we were just talking about that you generated?
It is.
Your Honor, the State would move to introduce State's Exhibit 22.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. What has not been talked about is that this also contains extensive history from a MacBook that, as far as I can tell, has no documented activity past 2020, and most of which is in 2019. I object to the MacBook being included in this, and even more specifically, part of that search history includes some porn records from 2019 that feel completely inappropriate to be a part of this report, and so I object separately and distinctly to those.
Mr. Latour, is there a foundation for the MacBook?
I can lay that very briefly. Similarly to the searches that you did, or not the searches, the extractions that you did in the defendant's phone, you said that you had a MacBook as well, correct?
Correct.
Were you able to make a download or an extraction from the MacBook to obtain the information that you included in your report?
I was.
How did you go about doing that?
I created an image of the hard drive. It was an older version of the MacBook, and we were able to actually pull a hard drive out of it. As many of you know, there's not hard drives in MacBooks anymore. So I was able to pull the hard drive out of the MacBook and then do a bit-for-bit copy of that hard drive. After that hard drive was viewed, it was then put into a program called Axiom. Axiom then decoded the information inside of that image that was created from the actual hard drive.
And the information that you retrieved, did it change whatever was inside of that MacBook that you imaged the hard drive from?
No, it was not.
Did you include all of that and in this report?
Yes, there's a tab in there regarding the MacBook.
And the search history that you've included in there is the search history that you can attribute to that device?
Yes.
Okay. The state would renew its motion to include State's Exhibit 22.
All right. So with respect to the MacBook in general, I'm going to admit the information relating to that, although at least a portion of the objection relates to the proximity and time of that information to the events that are the subject of this sentencing hearing. I will agree that 2-year-old or greater porn searches have very little probative value or relevance to what we're talking about today. And so I will tell you at the outset that I will assign almost no weight to that information unless the state tells me why I should.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
May I approach?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a copy of the report for
please.
you to follow along with.
Thank you.
Sergeant, in looking at your report, you were just talking about the favicons and how those are described. Is that contained on page 7 of your report?
It is. It goes into an explanation as to how the favicons work inside of Safari and how some of this information was obtained out of it.
And kind of the front end of this report, does it include what is essentially a supplement or a recitation of how you went about doing some of the things that you did and the databases in which you utilized, what they show and how they help you?
Yes, sir. It provides a kind of a walkthrough in showing the tables and databases I used inside of the tables inside of those databases.
Now, in looking at the phone that you were provided that belonged to the defendant, were you able to, in looking at that, and I'll direct your attention to page 6, to page 5, Were you able to get kind of identifying information about the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to get some information such as an email that would link it to the defendant?
Yes.
At some point, were you able to determine when this phone would have initially been activated?
Yes, the setup date for the phone was the 13th of November 2019 at 02:54 hours.
Now, at some point when you were going through the searches and the search history of this phone, were you able to find search history or things that would indicate that the phone had been set up before that date?
No.
Okay. In looking at the phone and your examination of this phone, did you at some point create a chart that kind of categorized topics that you would look for throughout the phone?
Yes.
How did you go about doing that?
I pulled the links out of the Favicon database, and I started to go through and attribute types of information associated with shootings, things that were associated with potential bombs. It took quite a long time to get all of that pieced together, but they were essentially searching for topical information inside of those URLs and trying to drill down into them.
Okay. And on page 10 of your report, did you generate a chart that illustrates some of the searches or search topics?
Yes.
And in looking at that, did you are you able to quantify in any way what you have classified as gun searches?
Yes.
And how did you quantify that?
Through the term guns, shotgun, AR-15, a continuation of typing of different terminology to find those, and then keeping them in. Did a lot of this in Excel and kept it counted as a sum of those particular topics.
And for gun searches, what was the number of searches or interactions that you were able to locate?
1,302.
And is there also a search category that you generated named bomb-making materials?
Yes.
What is the number for that?
263.
Did you also generate a search about law searches concerning assaults, rape, murders, manslaughter, assault on law enforcement, crimes against LGBT community, home invasions, burglaries, etc.?
Yes, 148 was the number.
Unabomber case information, is that a topic?
Yes.
And what was the number for that?
49.
How about police scanners?
39.
Various styles of knives
37.
and police codes?
33.
Serial killers to include Jeffrey Dahmer and Ed Gein?
30.
Torture techniques?
25. I'm sorry, 30.
And the serial killers, is that 32?
Yes, 32. Sorry.
School shootings?
25.
Mass shootings?
19.
Carrying concealed laws?
15.
Political affiliations of residents and addresses in Clayton?
15.
Bank robberies?
15.
Inquiry into bank vaults? Wells
How far
Fargo and
down?
Bank of America vaults?
15.
Tortured cartel members?
14.
Active shooters?
14.
Homemade suppressors?
12.
Can I shoot people scenarios?
10.
Banks, parks, schools, and pools in Knightdale?
9.
Statute of limitations per state?
9.
Police codes for active shooters?
8.
Shooting ranges?
6.
2011 Norway attacks?
6.
Uvalde shooter?
5.
Image searches for the interior of Knightdale High School?
3.
DNA inquiries and how to dispose of DNA evidence?
3.
Police shootings?
3.
living off the grid,
3,
residential searches for Nightdale,
2,
shooting on interstates,
2,
shrapnel velocity,
2,
bodies in Lake Mead,
2,
shooting rifled slugs through a smooth bore,
1,
and military techniques.
1.
Now, in doing that, did you also go in and include in your report specific things that were, I think you referred to them as rejected sources?
Yeah, so inside of the favicons database is a table called rejected sources, and these are favicons. Still, remember, again, these are images that have been rejected by the browser. Either they don't conform to the right size or color coding, and the database will keep track of that actual URL that was visited and the favicon location as well. So this actually contains an actual timestamp of when that particular URL was visited.
Okay. And so I'll kind of skip around in here, but I'll direct you. How many pages of your, is it 2 pages of those that you've included?
Yes, so it should be page 11 and page 12. There's actually 3 and 13.
Sorry. Are these all of the ones that existed in the phone, or are these just ones that you chose?
These were ones that are relevant to the nature of the crime.
Okay, I'll point you to page 13 at the bottom, in the very last column and row. What are we looking at?
On page 13 at the very bottom, the very last one is the last date and time of the rejected favicon. And for this particular URL, it is dated the 13th of October 2022 at 18:32 hours. The link is email alerts, breaking news, email alerts, Raleigh Police responding to active shooter near Neuse River Greenway.
Now, is this something that the defendant would have had to interact with?
Very possibly, yes. It's not 100% positive, but it could have been a link that is associated with a URL close to this particular URL. So they have to interact with the domain in order to get a potential favicon error.
Okay. And the time you said is 18:32. What time is that?
That is 6:32. This has been changed over to our normal time zone. So.
And these other, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 others on that page. Generally, what are those all relating to?
These are all relating to different types of shootings, one of which is the Buffalo shooting in Buffalo, New York, which was a mass shooting that occurred there. There's also a video where the individual in that shooting live streamed his shooting to the public using a platform called Twitch. Twitch is often used by gamers to live stream. And so there was quite a few searches for that. There's searches for Pennsylvania cop killer driven to murder by his father's anti-government rants from the Washington Post. That's in there twice. Then in the Washington Post, you have Uvalde, Texas school shooting gunman. That was viewed twice. Bath Consolidated School Massacre, Uvalde, twice in there as well.
Now, these dates on these range from May 16th of 2022 up until October the 13th of 2022?
Correct.
On that page alone?
On that page alone.
Now, the next page, which is page 14, you have that as Google search, and it's under the heading of police. Is that one of the topics that you categorized a bunch of searches under?
I did.
Police-related searches?
Yes.
Now these, the last column that you have says search, and it has information listed there, are these things that would have had to have been inputted into Google as a search from that device?
Yes, so Google catalogs the searches. It actually determines what type of search you're doing. So when you search for something, say Raleigh, and they will do what's called a predictive search. It will try to predict what you're actually looking at. And inside of the URL, it will tell us in the URL whether or not it was what you actually typed or if it was something part of what you typed. And then it did a predictive analysis on trying to figure out what you were searching. Most people, when you've Googled something, will notice that Google will begin to guess what you're trying to search. And so my example of Raleigh, it may do Raleigh and then show you a search of Raleigh, North Carolina, which people will search. So it will, in the link, show a Q equals, and then will also show an OQ equals. The Q equals is the actual query that is sent through Google. The OQ is the original query of how that person has what they have typed. Now, if they type the whole thing out and don't use a predictive search, it will just have a Q. And so it's a way to determine whether or not that individual has clicked on a predictive search or not.
Now on this page, the dates that we're looking at are October, well, it's got two different dates, right? It's got this October 13th, 2022 with a time, and then there's an EI colon and time. Is the EI colon time the more accurate time?
Yes, it's the more accurate time. If you recall me talking about the base 64 encoding inside of that URL, and so base 64, to try to explain this a little bit, is taking information that would be in what we call binary. Binary is the way a computer talks, right? Zeros and ones. It takes that information and it makes it into something that can be put into a URL. Generally, URLs can't interpret binary information, so it takes that and it puts it into this base 64 encoding. And if you were to look at it, it would just look like a bunch of letters and numbers, right? But that EI actually has a meaning. It has a session meaning, and we can take that base 64 data and translate it into a session's date and time. That date and time is independent of the time on the phone or computer or whatever you use to search Google. It actually gets its date and time from Google's servers, so it is highly accurate.
All right, so in that case, if we're looking at the first column or the first row, the EI time is October the 1st of 2022 at 13 hours, 41 minutes, and 13 seconds, right?
Correct.
And that search was what?
Do people inside the police station respond to a school shooting?
All right, and then if you keep going, and so that would have been a search that was done on a session opened at that time.
Correct, and you could actually see in the full URL, we have an OQ. It's kind of the third line down in the URL where it says equals. Do people inside the police station respond to a school shooting? That is exactly what the defendant typed into the actual search box.
And then going down a little bit further to the fourth row, what is the search in, well, let's go to the fifth row. What is the search in time for that?
Do police go in the woods to search for an armed and misspelled, I believe this was dangerous, but it's spelled dangerous suspect? The time on this is October 5th of 2022 at 20:15 and 52 hours, which would equate to 8:15 and 52 seconds. Sorry.
And in fact, the next two searches, dangerous is spelled correctly.
Correct.
Okay, and they're minutes after that first search.
Yes.
Okay. And there are other searches, obviously, within this, and you didn't include all the searches on the phone in this report, correct?
No, if I recall, there were over 20,000 links that were in the actual database itself.
You've created a search section as well for legal searches, or those searches that you categorized as legal topics that the defendant was looking into?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll skip ahead to page 16, which is the Google section of that, and I would draw your attention to the last of those rows, and can you tell us what the search was and the date and time, if there is one for that?
The last search that I have on page 16 is for the search of murder, and the EI time is November 1st of 2020 at 8:22 and 36 seconds.
And the next page, there are multiple searches, which is page 17, for about essentially legal consequences. Can I shoot someone if I fear that person's life? How much time do you get for aggravated assault? How much time would you get for manslaughter? Can I shoot someone trying to burn down my house? Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. And those kind of continue on and include topics such as rape and what the punishment for that would be?
Correct.
When you were looking into the defendant's phone and his searches, were there any crimes that he searched over and over that stood out to you?
He searched aggravated assault a few times, armed robbery, bank robberies, murder, rape in particular was searched quite a few times.
And I'll point your attention to page 19, the third row, if you can tell us what the search was and the date and time on Google for that.
So this one was on July 2nd of 2021 at 1938, which is 7:38 Eastern Daylight Savings Time. The search is, if you murder someone, how long is it until you can't be charged with it's TRH, murder.
And then seconds later, does he look up the same thing, but for instead of murder, it's spelled RAOE?
Yes.
On page 20, I'll point you to the second column, or the second row. What is that search and date and time?
The date is July 13th. I'm sorry, you said the second one, right?
Yes.
Okay, July 13th of 2021. 16 hours and 47 minutes, which is 4:47:25 daylight savings time. And the search is, what is capital murder?
And on page 21, the second row, what is the search for that?
The second row here is on July 28th of 2021 at 4:10 Eastern Daylight Time. The search is, what is first degree murder?
And what is the search after that in the next row?
Minimum sentence for first degree murder.
Is that the same day?
Yes.
Seconds later?
Yes.
Skipping ahead just to page 31 of your document, and I would point you to the second to last search. Can you tell us what that search was?
This is on May 3rd of 2022 at 4:01. And the search is, how many years is a life sentence without parole?
And the next page, page 32, the first full row, what is that search and what is the date and time?
This one's August 31st of 2022 at 3:43 Eastern Daylight Time. And it says, or the search was, can juveniles get the death penalty?
The next big topic that you searched, or that not that you searched, but that you included in here of searches, you have listed as bomb-making materials. Is that correct?
Correct.
And were you present in the courtroom when we were looking at those notes and things that the defendant's father had provided to Sergeant Tripp?
I was.
And when you heard or saw what was contained in those, were those things also contained in searches that you found on the defendant's phone?
Yes.
In various locations?
Various locations.
And I think one of them is what, ANFO, what, do you know what that is?
That's ANFO.
And-
I believe it's an explosive.
Okay. And are there searches for that?
Yes.
And to include, I guess on page 40, the search of what is the FO in ANFO?
Yes.
And that was done on October the 30th of 2020.
What is the FO and ANFO was done on October 30th, 2020 at 1:29 Eastern Daylight Time.
And you've included various pages upon pages of these types of searches for various bomb-making materials.
Correct.
Fair?
Yes.
And is this all of the searches
No.
in the phone?
No. There was quite a few. There were over 20,000 different links that were in the phone. Had I printed it, it would have required a cart to bring it.
Now, skipping ahead to page 60, you have Google searches, and under this one you have included mass shootings as the title. It's at the bottom of page 60.
Yes.
And is the search inquiry at that time the worst mass shooting in North Carolina history?
Yes.
When was that done?
That was done on January 4th of 2020 at 22 hours and 42 minutes and 40 seconds.
On page 61, I guess midway down, is there a search for are most mass shootings done with illegal guns?
Yes.
And is that done on September the 25th of 2020?
Yes, September the 25th of 2020. 14:13 is the session time.
And then are there various searches throughout here of pictures of dead bodies from mass shootings?
Yes.
Including on page 62, dead body picture of Orlando mass shooting?
Yes, this is one of the shootings that occurred in the Pulse nightclub shooting is what I believe he's referring to.
And the next thing you've included after that is North Carolina or NC mass shooting?
Correct.
And that was from December 21st of 2020?
Yes.
On page 63, does it appear that he's searching and looking for that Buffalo mass shooting video at various times?
Yes.
And then on page 64, is there the last search there before you get to the school shooting section? Does it say mass shooting today, North Carolina?
It does.
When was that done?
June 10th of 2022.
Then you go into a section that you have a subset of that, I suppose, that you've included about school shootings
This is correct.
and discussions about various different searches for deadliest school shooting,
Yes.
to include one on January 23rd of 2020. That would be on page 65.
Yes. Deadliest high school shootings.
And then he continues on and searches things to include Uvalde school shooting like we've discussed, right?
Yes.
On page 68, does he search Wake County, North Carolina school shooting?
Yes.
And when was that done?
September 21st of 2022.
The one right below that, what is that search?
Fastest school shooting in America.
When was that done?
September 24th of 2022.
The last search on that page, what is that search?
Do people inside police station respond to a school shooting?
And when was that done?
October 1st of 2022.
And then the last of those searches you have is on page 70, and are these searches that you have indicating the Knightdale High School pictures or school pictures?
Yes,
And those searches were done on January the 3rd of 2022.
correct.
Now, you don't know what the search was for, why that search was done, but why did you include that here?
Mainly because there were searches for school shooting and a lot of interest in school shooting, and I knew that the suspect had attended Knightdale High School, and he was actively searching for photos of Knightdale High School.
Well, Sergeant Pike, you also provided the state in this case an Excel spreadsheet that contained a lot of data from that phone. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you describe for us what that Excel spreadsheet was and how it differs from what we have in this report?
Before we get to that, let's go ahead and take a mid-afternoon recess, and 5 minutes past forward, and we'll pick up right there. So.
Yes, Your Honor. Superior Court being recessed 15 minutes.
Mr. Latour, would you repeat your last question and get us started, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll try to remember it exactly, but it was something to the effect of at some point through all of this, did you provide the state with a Excel spreadsheet that contained data related to the cell phone extraction of the defendant's phone?
I did.
So we would publish that, Your Honor. And Sergeant, I will point your attention to this. Now, do we have this as whatever the last interactions with the phone should be at the top of the spreadsheet?
The timestamp is, again, when the information was added to the database, so the database changing, the modification. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that is when the site was visited for these particular, the first few, but is more of a timestamp for the database modification. So.
But from margin on this screen, margin 11 down through 26 has EI times, and so those would be when those sessions were open.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. So then in looking at this, the first, if you will, kind of, I guess before we get to the EI times, what are the, they all appear to be abc11.com URLs, is that correct?
Yes, the first appears to be 8 are, or I'm sorry, yes, 8 are all abc11.com URLs.
And can you read for us what those, in those URLs after abc11.com, what the article content would be about?
So the first one is abc11.com /tag/man-killed. The next one is just the abc11.com domain. The next one is abc11.com /tag/homicide. The next one is abc11.com /amp /Knightdale Special Olympics Spring Carnival Shooting, and then a reference number after that. abc11.com is the next one /amp /shooting/Raleigh/hotel/quality inn, quality/inn /118194747. The next one is abc11.com /tag /police-officer-killed. The next one is abc11.com /amp /wake-county-sheriff-chase-policy-crime / and a reference number. The last one in reference to abc11, abc11.com /amp /Raleigh-NC-active-shooting noose river greenway / string of reference numbers.
All right. And so then I suppose we've made it to row 11 and row 12. Those include EI times and dates, correct?
Correct.
And what are the EI times and dates for those?
Those are October 13th, 2022 at 1800 hours or 6 p.m.
And is that the date of offense that we're here dealing with?
Yes.
And if we scroll over those Google searches,
Both of them are active shooter NC.
and then looking down a little further at 21, 22, and 23, what are the searches at that point?
21, 22, and 23 are, do police go in the woods to, it's Karch, but I believe it meant catch, or the third one is search, if the third one down here. A armed and dangerous suspect, and the last one on the third one on the bottom is for a armed and dangerous suspect. These searches were conducted on October 5th of 2022, around 8:16 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any other questions about this now. I would like to talk to you briefly about the video that is also contained in State's Exhibit 23. You've kind of explained how you set that up. What was the purpose of you setting that up?
The purpose of me setting that up was to show the actual path based upon the information I know existed inside of the iPhone, so that we can get an accurate representation of not only where he was, but when he was there, and to pair those up with key events inside of that actual, outside of the events those days. So to bring clarity to the whole event in total.
All right. Your Honor, at this time the state would ask to publish the video contained on State's Exhibit 23.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
What you see to the right is a picture of Austin's phone. That highly accurate database is the cache.SQLite database. And for each yellow circle, you'll have red, which indicates the horizontal uncertainty for our accuracy. Again, in this video, you can see each yellow circle has a red tint to it, and his device was in that location, anywhere within that circle.
don't have any other questions at this time, Your Honor.
I can start, Your Honor, but I'm going to have a lot.
Okay.
Apologize.
Hold on. All right. We will then go ahead and recess for the afternoon. We'll resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Officer will ask you to make yourself available at that time, and we'll resume with the cross-examination of this witness. We'll stand in recess until 2:30. Counsel, I do need to confer with you just briefly about what this will issue once we break down court. We'll just meet in my chambers briefly.
Your Honor, just wanted to confirm the time for tomorrow.
9:30 tomorrow morning, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, Superior Court being recessed till tomorrow morning, 09:30 hours.